Cool. Where are we going?
And make
Oh,
sure
we're
your audio
defending stuff.
is included.
I already did.
Cool. So we should be live now.
Yep. Cool
Hello,
beans.
ladies and gentlemen. Alpha Astartes. Back with TK.
Hello.
Haven't seen him in a while because he likes to duck playing things.
I'm a wanderer, okay? I do as I please.
Oh, okay.
Now I'm getting shot.
Alright, I'm loading in. Now I
Cool.
need kills with heavy blasters, whatever that means.
Yo.
Yeah.
So Halo.
Yo.
Literally, this guy started shooting at me, right? And like he got me by surprise and everything. My back was turned to him. I just turned around, popped off 3 good shots in succession, and killed him. And I was on 1 health. Ah.
So,
Shut up.
I wanted to talk a little bit today while we're playing this B-list game about the glorious sequel that's coming out, and it's gotten a lot of hate lately, and I don't know why it's getting so much hate. I think it's just because it's a sequel to this game. It just starts getting shade. You know what I mean? Just because it's a sequel to this, it shares a name. You know.
Heads up, enemy soldier sighted.
I think it just gets a bad rap from the start.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, no,
I mean,
there are
you're-
definitely some good things that they've improved upon, but I mean, it's little things that are irking me about what I've seen so far. You know what I mean?
Well, I guess let's start with the negative thoughts then. See if we can try and voice. For me, I think the biggest thing is that they didn't change that you don't pick a side. From what I've seen, there's been no show of selecting the faction that you want to play as, aside from the era. Like they've stated, you're going to be able to play, you know, during the Clone Wars, the Galactic Civil, and then also during the Episode 7, you know, Resistance versus First Order stuff. But other than that, they haven't shown any choice in what faction you play. You know, whether you're like clones or separatists.
Yeah.
That sort of bugs me a bit because I don't want to play as the Seps. I just don't. I want to play as a clone. You know. So
Yeah.
that's the thing that I kind of have the biggest deal with is because that's what the original Battlefronts. I mean, you could be whatever you wanted, you know? You could just, that's all I did. I just sat on the clone side and I was like, haha, I'm a clone, you know?
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Especially if you were playing things like Galactic Conquest. Literally, you had to be smart about what you were doing with your fleets, what engagements you wanted to take, bonuses. Like, that stuff was really cool. But even if, like, they did something as simple as what For Honor did, where you can play as any character you want, but you're fighting for a specific faction at the end that your points go through and things like that. Even that would be better than what they have now, I think.
Well, I never played For Honor, so I can't make any comments as to whether that would be a good system to implement. It sounds like it wouldn't, because, I mean, you're going to have clones fighting clones, and that just sounds awkward.
Yeah, but, you know, it's how the game is set up right now, I guess. But, you know...
Hey, anything's better than what they've got right now.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, a lot of people gave this game a lot of hate, and I kind of don't agree with that either, personally. You know, I like this game for the most part. Things that kind of irk me like that, like other things, that I just think could be worked on. But overall, it's a pretty good game for what you're, you know, for the money you pay.
Yeah. Not only that, but for the money you pay, you get a bunch of free DLC. Or in this case, they weren't right. Free DLCs that come out.
Nope.
Or is that the second game?
Second
That's
game announced. Yeah, they announced free DLCs because they charge you $20 per DLC here, unless you go with the season pass.
That's right. That's right.
That's a little bit much for most people. I didn't get any of the DLCs. I actually put out a video a little while ago. Me and Shaft played. They had a free DLC weekend for people that you know didn't buy all the DLCs that they were charging an arm and a
I remember that. I was playing that with you at some point, and then after that, I decided, oh, these are pretty cool maps, and I bought the season pass.
Right, and that's probably what they were hoping everyone would do, was that would entice them into buying the overpriced stuff. And it's not, I almost said junk, but it's not junk. Like, I had a really good time playing, you know? Like, just cargo on the Death Star was just, because you were on the Death Star, was so much cooler. Just right off the bat, you know?
Yeah.
But,
don't forget Director Krennic.
Yeah, right? Oh, Orson Krennic. I love Director Krennic. Such a cool character. I wish they'd done more with him. But, yeah, no. And I cannot afford it. Like, if I could, I would buy all those DLCs. I would sink as much money as I could into this game. I love Star Wars. I like this game. I would put all my money into it. But I cannot afford to, you know?
Yeah.
Like, it's just too much.
Yeah. Especially with the sheer amount of DLCs they released for this game. They released, what, 3?
4. They had, what? Outer Rim, Bespin...
Outer Rim...
Death Star...
Bespin, Death Star, Scarif.
I thought there was another one. I guess there is. That's at least 4 off the top of our head, though.
Yeah.
You know? But that's why I was really cool with the idea of, free DLC. And, beyond that, the game isn't that advanced. Like, I was looking at a couple videos, and so far the heroes they have announced, they've got Yoda, obviously, and Darth Maul we saw in those initial gameplay footages. We saw Rey.
Jin's a hero.
I don't know if I saw
Jin, sorry.
Jin. Yeah, Rey. We saw Rey.
Not Jin, Rey.
Kylo Ren. And if anyone pre-orders or gets the deluxe edition, they get not the Force Awakens, the Last Jedi skins for both Rey and Kylo. So we saw that. I did see that they had Han Solo and Boba Fett. Of course, Boba Fett, that's always cool to me. I kind of knew they were going to announce them, though, because they had them in space. Like, they had their fighters. Yeah. Which leads me to believe that they are also going to announce Poe Dameron, because we saw Black One as his starfighter there. We saw that.
Yep. Yep. Although, I'm not sure how I feel about Yoda being in space at the moment.
Yeah,
we have seen some footage about Yoda in his little fighter craft, and anyone who's seen Star Wars has never seen Yoda, except for literally the last 3 episodes of the animated series, in a fighter craft, and even then R2-D2's doing most of the flying.
It did state, though, that every Jedi had access to a starfighter, a Jedi starfighter. You know what I mean? So,
yeah.
While we didn't see it, it's kind of within the realm of believable. I think as long as they do it right, I don't have a complaint, but that's kind of the issue there, is how do you portray Yoda, this sage mystic Jedi who's like older than anyone in the Order? You know, how do you portray that in a fighter? What kind of abilities is he gonna have? Because all of the Jedi have Force abilities that they use in their fighter craft, and I guess I'm concerned they're not gonna portray that right. You know what I mean? They're gonna just be another fighter that's just stronger and has more health and shields, you know?
Yeah, I mean, now, I haven't seen any much videos on space battles, so have they shown if they're using the Jedi fighter, or are they using the newer interceptors with the S-foils?
You mean the difference
that you see in
between
episode 3.
the Delta 12 Aether Sprite or the Eta 2 Actus?
Yeah, because I know that the Delta 12 specifically says that it was made for Jedi to work in conjunction with their Force powers to pilot.
Right. Now, I didn't see whatever you saw with Yoda there, so I'm not even sure. Which one did you see?
Yeah.
Did you see his as? Was that the one with the S-foils, the Eta 2, or?
Again, I haven't really seen it, but you know, it's just me reading and things like that. So I'm not 100% sure, but that's why I asked if they're gonna do that, because in the beginning of the war, the Jedi used the Delta 12, and then obviously by the time Episode 3 comes around, they switch over. So I guess that's really more in the realm of where in the you know, the Clone Wars are we gonna really see the fighting? You know what I mean? Like what time?
Right.
because obviously there's a really big technological difference on both sides by the end of the war, by the beginning of the war to the end of the war.
Right, right. And I don't know if they're gonna, you know, show that necessarily in the game. That'd be kind of hard because you want to keep it balanced. You know, I mean, that's one thing that a game has to do.
Yeah.
You have to keep all of the players fair. As you know, and if it forces you to switch sides, I guess that it's fairer. You know, in that if you're on the not OP side, you will be next round or something. But I don't like that logic. It should remain fair for all players. You know, which is kind of hard because they're not equal. You know what I mean? And a lot of games have a bad habit, like even this. Each side, the only difference between the Rebels and the Empire right now is that the Empire gets ATS.
Aesthetics. That and aesthetics.
Right, like physical skins and stuff.
Yeah.
But I mean, like the core, when you're actually playing, take skins and shave that all away. The only difference is that the Empire gets ATSTs, and that's pretty unfair just in general because we don't have anything that can combat an ATST. Like we have like those ion little lock-on things.
The ion shots are like the turrets that can get destroyed ahead of time or
but
taken
how
by
many
the
of those things exactly? They can use those against us. But how many of those like ion shots and stuff does it take to take down an ST? A lot. Far too many.
Yeah.
You know, it's definitely not even close to balanced.
Yeah, you need a rocket launcher for your star card or something, and then even that's kind of a waste of a star card.
Exactly. I feel like they should have given us the Rebels have assault tanks. It would have been very easy to give us a Rebel assault tank that is balanced to the ATST in this game.
Well, I guess their idea of sort of balancing it out though was the snow speeder, right? Because we do get that, but then again, it's a snow speeder. You know what I mean?
The T-47 isn't
it's
really
not very strong. It's not very fast. I guess you need to take into account who's using it as well. But, I mean, just in my experience of people who are playing this game, most people are not very good at using it.
Yeah, it's pretty slow, and it's got weak blaster cannons. Like, I'm decent in a fighter. I'm definitely not good per se. But, you know, I can get kills, like, when I do strafing runs and stuff. You know, we were playing the other day there, and I was just... there was a whole, like, 20 minutes where we were playing, and I just did strafing runs. You know? I just got in a fighter, and I just strafed. And I feel like if someone is good enough at it, they can strafe like that. But you can't really do that in the T-47. The blaster cannons are too weak, you know? You get 1 or 2 shots on them on an X-Wing, and they're cooked. But aside from the concerns with Yoda, which I think are totally valid, they've got Luke in there, and I don't know who they're gonna put on the dark side to combat Luke, because what I saw, it looked like he was a little older, and the story we know takes place after the destruction of the second Death Star. So Vader is dead. So I don't know who they're gonna pit against Luke Skywalker, unless they're just gonna bring back Vader for multiplayer for, you know, for whatever, making it a simpler design element.
And
you know.
And you know what? I can totally see them doing that, just because if I'm not wrong, in the initial trailer they released, when you know, when the clones are clearing the area on Naboo, and they said area is clear, and then he's like, not clear, and it goes to Darth Maul, and then you see Darth Maul and Rey fighting.
Yes, that is something that they did announce, that the heroes are not going to be locked to their era.
Yeah. So what we might see is Darth Vader.
True.
Bring back just for fighting, since they're not gonna limit heroes to era. Or, you know, if they advance the storyline enough, we could see a reincarnated Palpatine.
Well, that's something that people are speculating, because if you watched the trailer for the single player, they've actually got a robot android thing with Palpatine's face on it, giving out orders to this guy, who is, I guess, the main character's father and in charge of the special operations.
Yeah.
So that's something that definitely could be pretty interesting to see if they're going that line, because there There was a couple novels that had him come back. I know he was like in the novels. This is all legends now.
Yeah.
He was working on like cloning himself and using the Force ability to imprint yourself onto another being. So he would like clone himself and then put his mind into the clone's body. But that can only work so many times before you start going insane, which drove him insane.
Yeah. Yeah, but you know what? It would make perfect sense for Palpatine to be able to do that, just because Palpatine is, at least in the Star Wars universe, is one of the rare few extremely powerful Jedi Sage. Actually earned the title of Sage.
Right.
Just how powerful he was in the Force. To the point where he didn't see a purpose for a lightsaber. By the time you get to episode, what, 6?
Right. Yeah, I mean, that's definitely something that, that I think could be interesting if that's what they're going with. And we gotta remember, this is all canon. Everything that's going on with this is all considered canon stuff. So, I mean, it's definitely something that whatever they pick here is gonna shape what exists in canon and what doesn't, you know?
Yeah.
So it'll be kind of interesting to see what they decide to go with. That's too bad. And then obviously we have Finn and Phasma are announced as characters, so that'll be
which is very cool.
Heroes. So we have two people, and I feel like they didn't get enough spotlight in the first movie, so I'm hoping that in episode 8 they get more airtime. And they did announce Phasma coming back, and of course Finn, you know, he's so integral to the story already. I feel like he's definitely going to get a lot of airtime.
Yeah, well, Captain Phasma, at least from what I've read, is a very distinguished Imperial officer.
Right.
You know what I mean? To the point where like she works very closely with Kylo Ren.
That, and she's the only one that wears chromium armor. You know, it's distinct.
That's true,
Everyone
too.
else wears the same identical armor.
Doesn't she wear a cape too?
She does.
She has a bunch
So
of
cool.
accessories that go with her chromium armor.
Right. So as we're looking at this, though, I mean, they've got to announce someone for the Clone Wars era, because they've got 2 for Episode 7 era, or 4, you know, total, 2 light side, 2 dark side. They've announced 1 dark side and 2 light side for the Galactic Civil era, so they need to balance it for 2 eras each. We need a dark sider for Galactic Civil, which we're pretty sure is probably going to be Vader, just because that makes sense. And if not him, I wouldn't mind seeing someone like the Grand Inquisitor show up. You know, I think that might be a nice touch. Now, obviously, that's a little out of the story arc, you know, because again, we're much later after the destruction of the Death Star 2, and the Grand Inquisitor leaves Rebels. You know, he's not there by the end of it, so I'm not gonna say much more because I don't want to spoil stuff for people. But I mean, that's someone that I would even be cool with seeing, is like a Grand Inquisitor, maybe adding in like Kanan or Ezra, you know, someone from Rebels to kind of change it up.
Yeah, that would be cool. Although I don't know, this is a bit off topic, but on Rebels I really have a problem with how big the lightsaber looks. I don't know, to me the blade just looks so small.
Well, that's actually a design choice. If you look at the original Ralph McQuarrie concept arts, and actually in Episode 4, Vader's lightsaber is much thinner than Obi-Wan Kenobi's, Old Ben. His is a much thinner blade.
Well, that's cool.
Yep, and in the original Ralph McQuarrie arts, they were more like rapiers, you know, like dueling sabers and stuff. So that was something. That was a choice. They chose to make that a design element.
We have located the alien.
So
close to your location.
That's cool. But that was off topic. But you know, moving back towards Battlefront 2, I don't know. One of my biggest complaints is I see, at least for one set of weapons, they've misnamed them. And in my opinion, misclassed them.
What weapon?
And the weapon, DC-15. There is no distinction, or rather, the DC-15 is yes. And what happened was the DC-15A. the blaster rifle, the DC-15X, the sniper rifle, is not for the specialist class for starting off with clone troopers, believe it or not.
Really?
Yeah, they have a different weapon in there. I don't remember what it's called, but I know it is not the DC-15X.
That's
Right,
interesting
but anyway.
to me because it's such an easy thing because the X is literally just an A with an extended heavier barrel that's longer and a scope. That's the only difference between the X and the A. So for a design team, you know, if I'm looking at this and the S is just the A with the barrel cut off and a little bit more ribbing around it. So for a design team standpoint, it would be easier for them to just make the DC-15A and then to class out the X and the S from that chassis that they've made, effectively making 3 weapons for the work of 1.
Yeah, now the concept is still the same, right? Where, you know, it's a high-powered single-shot weapon, right?
Ooh,
for that
single?
class at least, but yeah, it's single shot, right?
So they just
it has a slow rate of fire.
reskin the T-21B here,
yeah, kind of.
which has
it's
a relatively
slimmer
high
down.
rate of fire, but it's still basically semi.
I don't know how high the rate of fire is. It's supposed to be a powerful single shot. You know what I mean? It's very slow rate of fire, right? The other sniper rifle they have available to both factions is a 3-burst.
I do remember seeing that they announced that they were going to do one light side weapon and one dark side weapon per se, and then one neutral that both factions can get. I do remember seeing that, and that was I questioned that choice. I questioned that choice. I wasn't sure about that.
Well, at least in my opinion, I think both sides, you know, should have their own unique weapons, and that it falls to them to make it balanced. Because as we see in the Clone Wars series, unless it's absolutely necessary, clones do not use separatist weapons or technology, and droids do not use clone weapons or technology at any given point.
Except for commando droids, which are purpose-built for that, I don't think we've ever seen a droid with clone weapons.
Yeah. But you know what? Even then, when the commando droids dress up like the clone troopers, he didn't even have a weapon on him. And then when they breached it, the rest of the commando droids preferred their separatists, the weapons given to them by the separatists.
Right.
But you know, but back to the weapon discrepancy for the classes at least. I just think it was very off because they've named the DC-15S the DC for you know, the shorter barreled one, more like a carbine, as the DC-15A, and they've labeled the blaster rifle as a DC-15 and as a heavy weapon when it is specifically a rifle.
Yeah, that's a main combat rifle. So it seems like their design team might have gotten a little confused on what is what exactly there, you know.
Yeah.
It sounds like they don't exactly know what they're working with, and that's disappointing. Not just for the weapon. I mean, for the weapons, I can get over that. It's disappointing because, like I just said, this is canon moving forward. Whatever they put in here, we have to accept, you know? And that's concerning.
Yeah.
If they can make such obvious breaches in canon, you know, in overlapping stuff. Obviously, the weapon classifications are an errata issue, and the movies always take precedent over any other source. So, because the movie has it labeled as the rifle is a 15A and the carbine is a 15S, that will still be canon. But if they can make that mistake, what other mistakes are they going to make that isn't going to mesh well with canon or isn't going to feel right, you know?
Well,
so that's a little troublesome.
You want to know what else really,
for me?
Yeah. It really irks me too how they're doing these weapons, because like it's a main combat rifle, and the thing is firing like a heavy weapon. You know what I mean?
Right.
You know what? It is fully automatic. But I would have been much happier if they would have said to themselves, listen, let's take some inspiration from the original Star Wars Battlefront 2.
Yeah, that's one thing a lot of people
it's
say.
not like,
and this is the first time I'm going to really disagree with you, because everyone says that they want Battlefront 2. So, the original, you know. And even when the first Battlefront that we're playing here, you know, the reboot came out, they were like, "Oh, it's not the old Battlefronts." Well, of course it's not. it has to progress forward. Whatever it is, there are obvious design elements that are new and interesting here that we wouldn't have if they just reskin the old one. And if you want a digital remaster, I think we should get a digital remaster. I'm not discrediting that. I think that would be a great idea. But I'm saying that they should be separate. You know, separate entities entirely.
Yeah. No, I get your point. But, you know, I just feel like for certain things, like Battlefront 2, I'm not really going to say much on Battlefront 1 because Battlefront 1, it was very clear that they took a very different route. But you know what? Since the other Battlefront games do exist, I guess what I'd like to see, just more specifically, is the class system I'm okay with. But, like, take some inspirations for how the weapons are supposed to operate from that game, especially if they're already in them, with the rare similarities that there are. You know what I mean?
Right.
In Battlefront, the original Battlefront 2 did the DC-15A, and when I say DC-15A, that's the proper name for it right now since, you know, Battlefront 2 is in pre-alpha. And it's not released yet, so that is the standard blaster rifle.
That will always remain the correct name because any conflict in lore, the movies take precedence. They've stated that before. So so even with this misnomer, they'll make a usually a complete encyclopedia edition. They'll just put out a new edition and they'll say, you know, in this complete encyclopedia, these are the issues that we saw, and you know, correct the issues there.
Yeah. But, you know, like, with weapons like that, you know, I feel the blaster rifle in that game was done very well. It was very well balanced. It didn't fire like a machine gun, which it's not supposed to. You know what I mean? It's supposed to be an accurate medium to long range weapon.
Right. Which it is.
Yeah. Like, yeah. It just, the way they've done it with the class system bothers me. Simply because it's mislabeled. I feel like it's in the wrong class to begin with. For its purpose. I guess if you were going to put it in any class, you would put it in a heavy class, because as they've described the heavy class, I mean, even the class, I guess you could have it if you went more with what, you know, I was saying with the original, right? And the only reason I say that is because the heavy and the assault class are your two, are your two front lines. You know what I mean?
I feel like they've got let's see, what were the names they announced for the classes? They announced heavy, assault, specialist, and officer. An officer should really only have a pistol, I think. I think that having anything larger than a pistol for an officer, I think that having anything larger than a pistol is just unnecessary. We don't see officers carrying anything larger than a pistol normally.
Even clone officers.
Right, both in Star Wars and in real life. Officers don't carry heavy weapons because they don't need them. They're not there to fight, they're there to command, you know? So I think anything larger than a pistol for an officer wouldn't make sense, and that's also troubling because then are they going to do the DC-17 hand blaster, or are they're gonna mess that up too? Obviously, I think the specialists...
I believe they are doing DC-17.
They are? Oh, that's fantastic. And then,
for the officers that I've seen, it's just pistols.
Is every class going to have a sidearm? Because most clones did have sidearms, you know? Or is that going to be something that's going to be the star card system? Which was reworked. It's not the same. You have 3 things, and that's all you can use. And, you know, it's like... your Y is only for an area effect thing. The star card thing did get revamped, and they haven't talked much on it, probably because they don't want to let too much out early on, but they have said that they have completely reworked the star card system so that it's different, and it feels different, it is unique, and it's not just the same cut and paste material. So that's kind of nice.
Well, we'll see. Yeah, we'll see how that goes, you know, because while the star card system in this game was, like, okay, it could have been better. You know, we'll definitely see how it goes because Battlefront 2 is supposed to fix a lot of the mistakes that they made in Battlefront 1. Which, you know what, I can understand why people would complain about Battlefront 1. One, just because, you know, when you look in retrospect, the game was kind of rushed, but at the same time, you can't really blame the company that made the game for it because there was such a demand for it, they needed to push the game out. You know,
well, that's
it's a lot of problems that a lot of games fall under.
You did not play Knights of the Old Republic, right? You said that?
No, I have not played Coder.
Okay. A lot of people have. They're great games. I do recommend them for you, since you love Star Wars so much. That's another instance where the company was rushed. Knights of the Old Republic 2, it was supposed to be 2 years after when it launched, but they were told you need to do it now because we need it for the Christmas rush, you know. And they said, if you don't put this out now, we're gonna cut your team and we're gonna bring on people who are gonna just drop what you have. And so they had to cut a good quarter of the game out. Like, it was not a little bit, you know. They cut most of the game out towards the end, especially. Side quests got cut, certain doors got locked that they couldn't go into, you know, because they wanted to make it so that every door in the game could be gone through, because that's something that a lot of people complain about. Why put in a door if I can't go through it, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, even if it just leads to an empty room, that's something that they wanted to do, and they couldn't. They had to cut that kind of stuff out because they were told to cut it now for the early Christmas season.
Yeah.
And that's just another instance of they were forced to cut it too soon.
Yeah. It's really sad what happens to games when, you know, obviously companies need to make money, but you know what?
It's all marketing, man.
You'll make more money if you make the fans happier.
Well, that's
you know
kind
I mean?
of a hard thing to convince some people, you know.
Yeah.
Especially,
and, you know, it's really
especially
sad
the people that are only looking at numbers and stuff, people that aren't part of the design team, you know, who are ultimately the ones that rush them.
And,
you know, they're sitting behind a desk and they're looking at numbers, and it's their job to say, we need to push this project up because it hasn't shown any promising results, and we need results, and, you know, it's easy for them to just push it up. But for the fans, that project they pushed up that's not getting results, it's the one that we're looking forward to the most, usually. Usually it's the lower projects that we're like, yes. You know, what's more important to them? The new movie episode 8 that's coming out, or some video game? You know?
Probably some video game. Well, you know,
clearly the movie's gonna get them more money, you know? It's it's a no-brainer for them to push the game and make the movie more quality and put budget over there.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you know, they're trying to instill hype with gamers to go get more people to see the movie, right? You know, I mean, they strategically planned this release, but you know what? Even with Battlefront 2, you know, this game came out when? 2015?
I believe so.
Right? This game came out 2015. They already have another release in 2017. That's a very fast release for a sequel to a game. You know, especially when you're adding a lot more stuff, like a single player. Unless...
Yeah. That's something I kind of
Unless they already had this game in the works.
Like, someone said something about how much content was missing, you know, and I was, and the lack of hero announcement stuff, and on that note, they announced 14 different locations. That's pretty big. You know, that's getting back to the original Battlefronts. People were like, oh, we had such diversity of maps, and we kind of didn't get that in this Battlefront. They announced 14 different locations. I wrote some of them down there from what I saw. They obviously Camino, and that's something that I'm looking forward to because they were talking about changing the way gameplay is. Like, we've got a game type called Galactic Assault, which is a 20v20 attack and defend type, which made me immediately think of Supremacy from here, but it's not. It's gonna be more story driven in each thing. Kind of like you played the DLCs, so you know, like on, for example, Death Star, where you start off grabbing R2-D2 and you escort him and all that stuff.
Yeah, invading the Death Star, grabbing
or you start off
blowing
outside. Yeah, so that kind of story driven multiplayer, that's what they're going with for that. So, like for Camino, for Camino, for example, they're gonna have the droids spawn out on the outer platforms, and they're gonna have to push in. They're gonna have to hack into the mainframe and shut off defenses. They're gonna have to go and shut off power generation units. Then they're gonna have to breach into the building itself, fighting past clones the whole time. And then they're gonna have to get in, destroy like cloning stuff, like genetic material, and then they're gonna ultimately have to destroy the like the reactor center to blow up the whole station. And that's pretty epic, you know? That's like, wow. You know, I can only imagine being a clone, fighting tooth and nail as the droids shut down your equipment around you, and you know they're going in, they're destroying all the next generation of clones, you know, the next batch, you know, all the genetic material, so more clones can't be made and that kind of stuff. And it's gonna be pretty cool to be the droids for that. And one thing I was a little concerned, I saw, obviously everyone has seen the Naboo footage where they're doing Theed.
Yeah.
And
that's
droids,
their really, you know, staple for
right,
pre-alpha.
and the droids have that big MTT that they're escorting that's blasting crap. It's almost the exact same for Kashyyyk. The only difference there, of course, is that Kashyyyk has Wookiees that fight with the clones. And I don't know what level, I don't know if it's like Battlefront 2, where like they're fully autonomous and like they move around like the rest of the troopers and they don't count towards the kill count and the death count or whatever, which was another thing that I liked about Battlefront 2, and I feel like that should be another thing that they bring back, is the idea that you can play objective if you want, and you can push for, you know, control of the map, or you can just go for a straight TDM and just kill them instead. I kind of like that duality because if you were an objective-based player, you know, you could just play the objective, and if you were more of a kill-based player, you could just go for kills. And I always liked that theory, you know. Lost again.
That's upsetting.
So that's something that I thought might be a little cheap, because on Kashyyyk we have the same thing where they're escorting an MTT up the beach, and I'm like, how closely is this gonna feel to what we're already seeing with Theed? You know, is it different map? It's not gonna feel the same, or is it gonna be the same? Protect the MTT. We have about the same amount of cover. It's just a reskin, and that's kind of concerning to me.
Yeah. But you know what? Like we were saying before, that's what happens with rushed games.
Right.
Or quick releases.
And
they don't have time, so certain things need to get done, so that way they can make a profit.
Right. And something that that I said to someone is that they were like, oh, well, there's so much missing content that's not going to be in the game, and I was like, well, free DLC means free updates for the game for an extended period of time. Whatever they put out now is not the end result. It's not like, oh, that's it, you're going to have to pay for more. It's free DLCs. Everything that they do to update this game and give it support and love is going to be free to the player, and we just have to download an update real quick.
Yeah, I mean, think about what they did with, real quick, what they did with GTA 5. GTA 5, you don't have to pay for the updates, and, you know, like, what, that game came out in 2014, something like that, right?
That has such a huge community. Anytime I get on there, any time of day or night, there's always someone on.
Yeah, but you know what? They almost every 6 months or so release a huge update that is free. The items in it are not free because they need to make money somehow, but you know, you still have the ability to earn it without paying money and things like that keep people in the game.
And that's a big thing
for example,
me.
they Valentine's update, military update, MC update.
Yep, gun runners.
Those are things that added lots of gun runners. Yeah, the gun runners part 2. Like those are things that added a lot of content to the game.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I said. Is that same theory, just like you're saying, is that it'll keep the community alive, and people are like, oh well, it's gonna be the same garbage game, so I'm not buying it. And you were kind of in that crowd for a little bit there, you know, where you were like, oh, I'm not gonna get excited about it, you know, I'm not gonna
I'm pretty hyped.
Go get excited. You are now.
Now I'm pretty hyped. I pre-ordered the deluxe edition.
Yeah.
I have the receipt somewhere. I have to find it.
I got a buddy at work who's the same way though, and he didn't get hyped though. He was like, oh, it's gonna be stupid. It's not gonna be the original, so I'm not gonna get my hopes up. And I'm like, you can't ask for the originals. I don't want the originals again. I played those games. You know? I don't want to play the same game.
Yeah.
Everyone says that it's gonna be cheap and missing stuff. Well, how cheap is it gonna feel when it's the exact same carbon copy?
Yeah. I mean, if we look at this is something like about different games that, you know, do this really well is I think, or diversify their games really well. I think the Dead Space series does that very well though. Just to get off topic, as an example, where, you know, look at Dead Space 1, right? That's literally their bread and butter game for Visceral Games, right, in EA, right, when it comes to Dead Space. And that was your classic, you know, survival horror, right? And then, you know, Dead Space 2 was like, went to like, it was still a horror game, but it was like really action-packed, fighting multiple people at once. Like it was like a thriller horror, right? It was a different feeling entirely. And then you look at Dead Space 3, and I'm only talking about main games here because there were certain games released for the Wii that played completely differently.
Certain games. We're not talking about anything in particular.
Yeah, they played completely differently, and you know, one of them was comic book feel, and you know, and then Dead Space 3 was less of a horror and more of like an action game. But you know, they really diversified their games and tried out different fields, which is something that I think kept the community alive, and something that I think is still like pushing the community, because since there's been such an uproar about it in recent times, they've actually announced that, you know, they might make a 4th Dead Space, which is really cool. And that's really what I think a lot of games, especially Battlefront, needs to do now, is diversify their games. I think that Battlefront, the first one that we're playing now...
Yep, diversity is exactly what I was going to use.
Yeah.
It gives everyone a little something different. Not everyone likes horror games. Me, I cannot play horror games. The only horror game on my channel right now is Alien Isolation.
Alien Isolation.
And that's because A, it's an Alien game, and I love Alien, and B, because someone actually asked for me to keep playing it. You know, after I did one video, they're like, hey, keep doing that. I like that. You know, so I'm like, well, I guess someone likes horror games, you know? But it's not me. They're not for me. For the most part, I don't play horror games. You know? And
I love horror games.
I'm sure you do.
I scream like a little girl. It's fantastic.
But no, I mean, it's one of those things that I think it's good to have a little something for everyone, you know, because you're not gonna have the same people wanting everything. You know, it's just not gonna happen.
Yeah. And you know, just tying that into Battlefront, I honestly think Battlefront 1 was for them to say, listen, this is the reaction we got. This is what we need to do better, or at least work on.
Right.
Right? And, you know, I'm sure that since it's such a fast release, I think I've heard they're using the same engine that they used for Battlefield 4 and Battlefront, you know, which is the same engine.
Yep.
Right? Which is fine. Graphics on those engines look great, you know? The game is fluent.
Well, yes and
no
no,
complaints
actually.
There.
For the ground stuff, it's the same. But for the space stuff, for the fighters, they actually announced that they brought in the teams that made Need for Speed and Burnout. If anyone likes those games, they brought them in for the fighters. Because a big complaint for people was the fighters in this game. It didn't feel like you were flying. You know, it felt like you were kind of like on a stick and a wheel, you know? And you were like, well, you know, it's kind of like a fighter, but it wasn't. You know, and that was a big complaint that a lot of people had, was that it didn't feel like you were flying a spacecraft, you know?
Yeah. Well, not to compare, but, you know, look at the first Battlefront games, or, you know, look at the, you know, Battlefront 2 specifically. I feel that game, even though it was on PlayStation and graphics were relatively low, you know, it's an old game. You know, they did space combat very well.
Oh, absolutely.
And again, this is another field. Yeah, this is another field where I think that they should not copy, but as I said before, take inspiration from.
Well, I think they kind of did with bringing in these outside teams, because they said you're going to have full control over your pitch, your roll, your speed. It's not going to be the same thing here where it's like, I can go a little faster and have weaker weapons, or I can go a little slower and have good weapons. You know, it's not going to be like that. Like, you have full control over your speed. Hopefully the damage is independent of the speed, because I didn't like that concept. I felt like...
I don't either. It took me a very long time to figure out how that worked.
I caught on to it quick enough. I just don't like the concept at all, because it's not like... Kind of like Rebel Galaxy, where you can put power to certain systems, right?
You know? Yeah, you don't, like, put power to certain systems. You just buy the systems that generally upgrade your ship. It's weird. Like, you tell the guns specifically, like, they're automated and things like that. Or, you know, you activate, you know, your deflector and things like that, you know.
I'm thinking of a different game then. It's not Rebel Galaxy that I'm thinking of. Whichever game I'm thinking of that I cannot for the life of me remember the name of. Some games it's out there.
I think you're thinking of a Star Trek game.
I am not thinking of Star Trek. I mean, now that I'm thinking about it, I think Star Trek Online does have a similar theory, actually. But that's not what I was thinking of. There's a couple of games out there like Dreadnought. Have you played Dreadnought?
I have not.
You should play Dreadnought.
Is it a PC game or is it an Xbox game?
I saw it on my PlayStation. I know it's on PC. I don't think I've seen it on Xbox yet, but I'll keep my eye out. But in that theory, you can put power to weapons or shields or thrusters, and I would be okay with that concept because then you're like pulling power from the other systems to power it up, you know.
Yeah.
In that, all your weapons do base damage, all the shields do base protection, and you can pull power from those systems, and like, you know, like you can put them down to like 75% each or 50% each, and all the power that you draw from each of the other systems goes towards that system you're trying to power. So like, let's say you want to overcharge your thrusters to get out. You're taking too much fire. Your shields have collapsed. If you put 100% of the shield energy into your thrusters are firing 200%, and you have no shields. Your shields won't recharge. They won't protect you. But if they're down anyway, why do you need them? And that's something that I would be okay with seeing.
System.
You know, if you're like me and you're real aggressive and what's speed to you, as long as you can shoot your enemy, you know, I'm sitting there in like a ladder or something, I don't care. I'm not going anywhere. I'm not a speedboat, you know. So I'm just gonna sit there. I'm gonna take all my thrusters. I'm gonna put them into weapons, and I'm just gonna basically be stationary, you know. And I'm gonna have just the most OP weapons of anyone around me, you know. That would be totally cool with me. I'd be fine with that.
Yep. Because you have to sacrifice certain areas and other areas.
Right,
so.
because you're drawing back.
Sense.
And the base...
It makes sense. I remember... Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, no, I was going to say, I remember a Star Trek game. I think it was for 360. It was, like, you know, years ago. Right? And it was the same concept. Like, you know, you had a fleet, and you could divert your power to places that you needed it to go to, and you'd sacrifice, you know, certain areas, and you know, it forced you to be strategic, which is something I think Battlefront really needs, is your ability to be strategic.
Well, that's why I wanted like a galactic conquest mode to come back, because that was fantastic. You know, like you said earlier, you had your ships, and you had to actually worry about your fleets. You know, you had to say, all right, well, this is where I have a fleet, and I have a second fleet defending my capital, and, you know, each fleet was basically a ground battle, you know, and then if you lost, then you lost the fleet. And you had to really be thinking about that because the fleets were expensive. So if you lost a fleet, that was bad, so you really didn't want to lose battles, you know. It wasn't like, you know, some games like even Risk, like some games like even Risk, like, you throw a battle, you're like, I don't really want to commit a lot to this, so I'll just let my enemy have this, and I'll focus somewhere else. You can't afford to do that in that because the fleets are so expensive, you know?
You're spending like $5,000 a fleet.
Exactly. And all of that money can be going towards upgrades or something.
Yeah. Cards for you to use during your battles.
Exactly.
Or buying other fleets. The big advantage of having a fleet was you got to do a lot more with your turn.
Right.
The more fleets you had, the more area you could cover, the more battles you could fight, etc., etc.
Right. And it made space battles very important because if you put your fleet to the enemy fleet in a space battle and engage them, you could wipe them out. You know?
Yeah.
If you weren't over a planet, if you were like in one of if they ended their turn in a hyperspace lane, not over a planet, and you engaged in a space combat, you would eliminate their fleet in space. If they were over a planet when you battled, you'd have to fight their space fleet and you'd have to fight their ground fleet. And then you know, whoever won the planet won.
Yeah, and then even then though, like with your cards that you bought, like either back to extra health, reinforcements, very greatly influenced the who won that battle. You had to be really smart and think about what your enemy has compared to what you have,
And the
that
bonuses, and that's kind of what we're saying with the ships.
Yeah.
It's the same theory. Is I'm totally cool with having upgrades. You know, I like that. I like being able to say, all right, well, you wanna take me on? I'm gonna get an extra garrison, so I'll have reinforcements come in, so that as we're fighting, you know, I can bring in these extra 250 lives for my team, so that a very close, narrow match then turns into, you know, you're stomping the enemy, and something that's not even close, where you're just getting crushed, turns into, you know, a fight that's fair and even and well balanced.
Yeah.
You know? So it can really turn the tide of the war. Or
and
the regeneration
for them,
backed out, where your health automatically regen. Stuff like that was really overpowered. Or the ability to get heroes. I remember in the Galactic Conquest, you couldn't get heroes off the bat. You had to get the upgrade to get heroes.
You had to buy the card. Yep. But you know, that's something that I feel what we're talking about now would be very easy for this company to do.
Oh,
especially
absolutely.
since they're the same company that made Battlefield, right? And Battlefield games primarily run off of a ticket system.
Right. Right. So how easy would it be to take their ticket? Actually, Conquest. As I'm thinking about it, we're describing Conquest. You get kills, and the kills reduce their numbers, or actually in their system it's respawns, but kills reduce the number, and then after that, you know, you have the flags you can take. You know, and that's the same thing as taking a command point. You know, it's the same thing.
Yeah. But how easy would it be to just do that for this company? Not you know, it'd be very easy. It wouldn't be hard at all. Because I mean, you're already using the same engine for ground battles. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. That's excuse me, that's one of those things that given time they could do, and that's why I like the idea of the free upgrades. You know, is that given time they can do all this stuff, but it takes time. You know, it's not something they're gonna get to right away.
Yeah.
Run, Peter, run!
But you know, dude, he is totally fucking retreating right now.
Oh, he is boned up.
Eat my nades, bitch. Oh, dude, I got a nade off of Vader. Ow!
Yeah,
I
got him. Got him. Yeah, I got a barrage off on him earlier.
Oh, that's cool. But no, like something like that would be really cool to see.
Oh yeah, I would pay big money. Obviously. I just think that people need to give him a chance. And a lot of people aren't. A lot of people are like, fuck it, I'm not buying the game. The first one sucks, so why would I buy a sequel to a bad game? And a lot of people said the same thing about Destiny, which kind of surprised me, is they were like, oh, I didn't like the first Destiny, so I'm not even going to bother with the second one. Well, how do you know you don't like it yet? You know?
I don't know. I played Destiny 1. See, the concept of Destiny doesn't interest me, so like I'm sort of on that. But you know, Destiny in itself doesn't interest me. The first Destiny didn't interest me.
Well, it's the
I didn't like what I saw.
It's not the gameplay that turns you off. It's the idea. It's the setting. That's different.
The gameplay to me was weird too, a little bit. But you know, I honestly feel like gameplay in and of itself is not a reason for you to not play a game, because gameplay you could very obviously change. You know, I mean, the way you play a game and learn to play that game, how it's intended to be played. I mean, you know, you do that every time you play a different game. Right. If I play Battlefront, and then I play GTA, and then I play Halo Wars 2, and then I play, I don't know, For Honor, right? Those games all play completely differently, and you know what? You have to, if you have those games, eventually, if you play them enough, you're just going to learn to play them without, you know, thinking about it real much, and you're just going to be used to that, right? For me, it was the concept. I didn't like that you were this, like, you know, guy fighting darkness. I mean, for me, it was a little bit cliche.
Yeah.
You
That's
know?
fair. That's
and
fair,
that
though.
really wasn't for me.
I mean, again, you're talking about all story concepts, and that's fine to not like a game for the story, and to not play the sequel because you didn't like the story. But don't refuse to play a sequel because of the design elements that they chose in the first one, because it's never going to be the same. You know, no one takes the first one and well, I'm not going to say no one because we've had a couple of games. Most people don't take a story in a game and carbon copy it. I almost said none, but there's quite a few out there that do that.
Final Fantasy.
No comment. No, but a lot of people do just add extra stuff. It's not like they just say, the first one was good enough, so why change it? You know, a lot of people put care and effort into advancing and building the game and making it better. And unfortunately, that's not something that they can do if no one gives them a chance. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I totally agree. I mean, you know, even Star Wars games to a certain extent. I mean, if we look at Empire at War, which honestly is probably one of my favorite games, right? And we look at Battlefront 2 for PlayStation. Realistically, Battlefront 2 and Empire at War, basically the same thing to an extent, except one's a strategy game. You know what I mean? Especially with like features like Galactic Conquest. You know, it's the same concept. It's just, you know, the PS2 one is downscaled because it's PS2. How are you gonna?
Right. And Empire at War is one of my favorite games. Did you hear the
yeah, I love Empire
multiplayer update with that? After all these years?
Oh, I did, and I can't get it to work, and it makes me really sad.
Why can't it work?
I
Just go
keep
right
trying
through
to.
Steam.
I keep trying to download Battlefront Commander, and I put in the key and everything, and I
you're talking about the mods. Well, go on to the workshop page. There should be a lot of people that can help you out. Like, there's a lot of tech guys on the workshop that can help you out.
Like, it kind of makes me sad too, because like I really wanted to play like as a Mandalorian. You know what I mean? Like that's cool as fuck.
That raises the question: how badly do you want it? Do you reset that baby to factory reset? You know, it'll work.
Like, it makes me so sad that I can't play my Mandalorian. Not even for the space fleet. I hate ground battles in that game to the point where I auto-resolve all of them, and I just went through over sheering amount of numbers. Wow. They're not my favorite.
You're one of those guys.
They're not my favorite. I play them because I don't want to lose. You know what I mean? But, like, for me, they're meh. And it has nothing to do with how the game plays or anything like that or the actual combat. It just has the fact that I think space battles are so much better than ground battles.
I do agree with you. While I'm giving you a hard time, I'm not a fan of the ground battles. For the most part, like I have played Battlefront Commander, so with the Mandalorians, that's the exception. I love being Mandalorians, and the Mandalorian models are pretty good, so you can see the Mando.
That's what I'm saying.
So that's an exception for the ground combat. I play them every time just for the visual of the Mandalorians.
Yeah. Oh my, not even that, but you know what? If you're playing as Mandalorians, even your freaking infantry should be able to like kick everybody's butt.
Well, not everybody.
Like, no joke.
They are generalist. And if I'm not mistaken, that mod actually makes it so that every infantry squad has a rocket trooper in it. So they can combat vehicles after a long enough period of time. You know, if that rocket infantry is not the guy that dies, then they will eventually be able to take out the vehicles. And I thought that was kind of a nice touch to add rockets into the base infantry squad. You know, because most squads do have rockets in them. You know what I mean? You're very rarely gonna find an infantry squad that has no anti-vehicle capability. That would just be silly to deploy without any AV. So I thought that was a nice touch.
Yeah.
But back on the topic of today, which is not Empire at War video. I'll do one of those later when I get my computer up and running. The topic is Battlefront 2. So we kind of went over the classes, and you said you were looking more in depth in what each class has, and you were talking a bit about that. So what, because I saw like the officer has like, all of his abilities are like buffs for the squad. Any teammate in the area gets a buff, and your squad has passive increases and stuff. Yeah.
Not only that, but the classes you are affects the health you have as well.
So an officer will have less health than a heavy.
Yes, the officer will have is the second least amount of health you have. The first amount of health you have is a specialist. because, you know, the officer is supposed to be on the front lines, not directly in the fight, but buffing his men.
Right.
Right? So that way they can fight better, right? But the specialist is more of like your sniper class, so they have less health simply for the fact that they're snipers. They're not supposed to be on the front lines, they're supposed to be fast, agile troopers, you know?
Right. Which is why I said they could totally be the ones with the DC-15S, because they're kind of fulfilling that scout role.
Yeah. And, you know, to me that makes a lot of sense, but the one that has DC-15S, even though it's been renamed the DC-15A, is the assault class.
Rebel forces have triggered the uplink.
The assault class has the DC-15S, you know, as they call it, DC-15A, because it's more of a carbine, right? But honestly, I don't see much complaint about that weapon from what I've seen in gameplay. It looks like it's a solid gun, right? Just my you know, I just don't like how they mislabel things. For me, in video games, it's the small things that irk me.
Absolutely,
right?
It's the fine details.
Because big things are easier to fix because they're more obvious, and you basically, in today's day and age, you make an update, it's fixed. Like, I don't know, let's take a god glitch, right? And or an immunity glitch, and you're immune to all damage, right? Let's say it's in GTA. Or let's say it's in Battlefront, right? You do the certain thing, and you're a god, right? Can't be killed. You know, and then, you know, enough people see it, you know, that they change that, and it's like, okay, that's good to fix. But, you know, then let's say a tree is not, or let's say, like, your textures aren't as good as on your weapons, right? Or they're not as detailed as you'd like them to be. And then that'll probably, you know, once that's fixed, it annoys me if they don't pay attention to small details like that.
Assuming
you know what I mean?
it gets fixed. Stuff like that often gets overlooked.
Yeah.
Because they're too busy trying to fix the big issues, you know, like the person doing the immortality glitch.
The god glitch. Yeah.
They're
really
usually
ridiculous.
more focused on that big stuff. The big ticket items are what they're trying to fix. Which is totally fair. I mean, you know.
It is fair, but, you know, it's just, I wish, you know, you had a team, or at least, you know, how many people you have in a company. You know what I mean?
Right.
How many developers or, you know, producers or, you know, techie people who do you have in a team? You know, how difficult would it be to tell one or two guys, hey, I want you two to work together, and I want you to look at, like, the little things in a game? It wouldn't be very difficult, and
even if
honestly,
that's just
it
a
would
side
probably
project, you know.
Yeah.
Like if you say, all right, everyone's hands-on with fixing, you know, for example, the god glitch, but you know, you two in your spare time when you're not actively working on that, you know, like maybe one day a week or something, just go and take a look at the smaller stuff that we keep getting complaints about. See if you can fix that. You know, because the little things, to me, if you fix one big thing, hey, great, that's a big thing. If you fix like 20 little things, I'm gonna be a lot happier because you fixed 20 things. You know. And that might just be me.
Again,
I mean, other people might have different thoughts on that.
No, I'm with you. I'm with you. Little things bother me a lot, like textures and things like that. Like in GTA, right? You wanna know something that happens to me a lot that really bothers me? Sometimes the map textures don't load in because I'm driving a really fast car or something.
Ark has that same issue.
And it takes a while.
Ark Survival Evolved. When you first spawn in, a lot of times on Ark, you'll see like really low res graphics and stuff that are like the placeholder image before the actual graphics load, and it's kind of frustrating.
Oh yeah.
Because it ruins the immersion. If you're playing for like a role play element or something, forget about it. It's hard to stay in character and immersed when the world doesn't look like the world.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh no, absolutely. But you know, I mean, this is what I'm talking about with you know, Battlefront 2, and you know, with the game that's coming out in November. I think there's a beta coming out on October 4th.
There is, and I'm gonna be making a lot of content of that beta.
Oh. Yeah, no, you and I both. But you know,
when I'm not working,
like
I'm
the
gonna
big
be on
thing
here.
that bothers me, you know, is the fact that, you know, they have all this pre-established stuff and they didn't even care enough to look at it.
We must shut it down.
Like anybody who's ever seen a freaking Star Wars movie, I mean, in the cartoon series, I mean, if you're a real Star Wars fan, you've seen everything. maybe not read every book, but you've definitely seen every single thing, on
Right,
TV.
you've definitely seen the movies and the show and all that.
Yeah. Like, if you look at the movies, right, and this is something that bothers me, and this is why it bothers me so much, in the movies, you never see the DC-15S. That's more of a thing you only see in the cartoon series, right?
It actually was introduced in episode 3. Almost all of the clones were carrying it. Because it's the end of the war, and they had switched over to the S more than the A. But that's why they did it so much in the show, is because before episode 3, it didn't exist.
Rebels have called in a Y-wing.
It wasn't a thing.
Must deactivate
We didn't
But
see it in
you know
episode
what?
2.
Like, this is my complaint. Even in episode 3, like, when Gianni Mundi gets gunned down, he's getting gunned down by DC-15As. You know what I mean? You know, in the Clone Wars, all of those clones in episode 2, in the beginning, what weapon do they have? DC-15A.
Right.
You know?
Right. Yeah.
Like, this is why it bothers me so freaking much, because in the TV series, it's, you know, like, I can understand you want to diversify your weapons, but at least, one, label them correctly, and two, appoint them to the appropriate class as you've seen the weapon operate.
No, yeah, I mean, that's, like I said, it's definitely something that's frustrating. Like we said, the little details. It's such a small thing that it ruins the immersion. Someone like me, I love clones. I'm going to, assuming that they have any sort of platoon system, which I'm sure they will, because they've talked about that kind of thing and community gameplay and stuff. Day one, I'm going to have one up. Day one.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, I know.
It's such an immersion thing. Yeah, it's such an immersion thing, you know what I mean? That it's all those little things added up and piled on, you know?
Although, something that's really disappointing me is I haven't seen a lot on the customization from all the videos that I watched. Like, it'd be really cool if you could change, like, your colors and, you know, design your clone trooper.
That is something that a lot of people have complained about, is the lack of customization that it appears. We've seen Phase 1 and Phase 2 armor. So that's kind of exciting, in that at the start you can have it as Phase 1 and then gradually go into Phase 2, and that seems kind of like it'll be good. But beyond that, you know? It's like, okay,
yeah, I have a...
It's there, you know?
I really hate to favor, like, the yeah. I mean, and I really hate to favor I guess, the pessimist point of view when it comes to Battlefront, especially when it comes to clones, but the specialist class. While we're on fine detail, the specialist class annoys me a lot. And the reason being is you get, like, ARC Trooper pauldrons and stuff on the armor. Meanwhile, the title Specialist does not imply that you are an ARC Trooper.
Right. And I mean, that's maybe something that can be overlooked. I mean, if you argue, I don't know, because even that should be command staff. The reason that ARCs get it is because every ARC Trooper is a lieutenant. You know? Like, so, except for the one sergeant that refuses to be a lieutenant.
Yeah.
He's effectively a lieutenant, though. Every ARC Trooper is, at the lowest, a lieutenant. So that's why they wear it, because it's a command thing. Any ARC-trained commanders all wear them, because it's a command pauldron. Even in Stormtroopers, we see only commanders or captains wear them.
Yeah. Unless you're a sand trooper, in which case then you have it, but you're a sand trooper. But, you know, that looks like a standardized thing for sand troopers.
Well,
in
for
episode
that,
4, right?
Right. For that, again, I kind of point towards snow troopers and Galactic Marines, you know, where they always have the what appears to be cold assault gear. Galactic Marines always have that, always. That's just an environmental gear. It's just part of their uniform. Other clones, they only have that in cold assault environments.
Yeah, and you know, that shit makes me really annoyed too, because the specialist clones were bred for many different reasons, as we've explored in our D&D game. And, you know, just because somebody specializes in something does not mean that they get a command pauldron or anything of that nature. You know what I mean? If you want to make your guy... I could... See, and this is where I would be open to you having, like, a command pauldron, if there were more customization options. If that was a customization option.
Right.
And let's say you had up to like 2 or 3 accessories or skins that you could apply and then customize the color and things like that, or like the Phase 1 and Phase 2 armor, because we do see certain
Right.
clones mix and mash their Phase 1 and Phase 2 armor to an extent
Right.
with
Right.
designs.
I'd be okay with, like, you know, like, let's say you have,
Then it would
you
be
know,
okay.
like, there was even a game on the PSP that had that, where you could customize, like, the body of the trooper, the helmet, and then your loadout. And it did a point system, kind of like what modern Call of Duty games all have, where it's like, you know, this primary, you know, the pistol's 1 point, and your primary rifle is 3 points, and a rocket launcher is 4, and, you know, you kind of had to mix and match the point totals that you want to get an ideal class, you know? I said they should do that. That was a great system. I don't care what anyone says. That worked out so well because it allowed you to be anything you wanted to be, and it was balanced because of the points, you know? No matter what you picked, you know, if you go with the big heavy guns, you're going to have less gear. You're not going to have the specialist equipment like a jetpack or a flamethrower or something, you know? You're not going to have grenades, you know? Like, my character, I always grabbed a blaster rifle and a rocket launcher. I didn't have a pistol. When my rifle ran out of ammo, I was kind of SOL. I had to wait for someone to give me ammunition. You know, stuff like that. It really diversifies the troops, because then you can pick any plethora of items, you know, and you can completely customize your squad. But with the squad-based gameplay, that kind of goes away because you know, you have unlock trees, and they did say that they have multiple unlockable weapons as well as customizations. Now with customizations, I'm assuming this is like the standard Call of Duty, like, you know, an ACOG scope or a silencer or whatever, you know, little attachments that give minor modifications and visual effects. What I kind of was interested in was as we were talking about taking maybe some design elements from the earlier games, you could totally take I need to move up. The kill rewards for kill streaks and stuff. Like how with a blast rifle, I think it was like 50 kills without dying or something absurd like that, or even 20 maybe was more realistic. Whatever it was, and you got like that upgraded tri-shot blue round ammo, you know?
Eventually, your rounds got to be red, like purple-ish sort of color.
Yeah.
Battlefront.
That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. That purplish kind of color there. That's what I'm referring to. Taking something like that and just making that like a kill streak upgrade, because kill streaks are very popular in like Call of Duty and stuff. And while I'm not saying that they should take things from other games, I'm just saying that you should listen to the fans. If people like having rewards for high numbers of kills in a row, you should give it to them. You should give them what they want. If that's what they're into and they want to have kill streak rewards, give it to them. Let them get rewarded for having multiple kills in a row consecutively without dying. That's cool, you know. And it doesn't have to be like, you know, Modern Warfare 2 where you got a nuke after 25 kills. No one wants that game to end. I mean, some people are like that. Call of Duty has a couple people that like that, but you don't have to necessarily give them a nuke. You can just give them little stat bonuses, like an upgrade to their weapon. Maybe give them a better gun. You know, some sort of equipment to give them. Stuff like that could totally change the way the game is played, but not drastically, to the point that they're still killable. They can still be taken out. Give them a personal shield that the players have to deplete, right? Something like that. You know? That,
I can see that.
Like, let's say they get 10 kills consecutively. Alright, well now they get a shield worth 1/4 of their health that every other player that's attacking them has to reduce to 0 before they can damage their health again, and that doesn't recharge or something. That'd be pretty cool. You know, little things that reward you for maybe more balanced gameplay. Because some people, you know, especially like in this game right here, it's run, die, run, die, run, die, run, die. I spawn in, I run in, I kill as many people as I can, and I die. There is no benefit for staying alive. It doesn't make sense. I mean, aside from like filling out your HUD contracts and stuff, you know, to unlock more rewards. Aside from that, there's really no incentive to stay alive. It gives me no reason to not run in, kill as many as I can with me, and die and respawn and rinse and repeat. You know?
Yeah.
So that's kind of a
Yeah,
complaint
I
that
mean,
I have
even your
on it.
star cards, you know, I mean, even they, you know, don't recharge after you die, and it's really like cookie cutter like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's something that, like I said, there are so many ways, even small little kill streaks. Give me a pistol. If pistols aren't standard, give me a pistol after 50 kills without dying that has like unlimited ammo or something. You know, although ammo isn't a thing in this game, they go with the overheat system. So I don't know. Maybe a pistol that never overheats, but it's semi-automatic, so I can just sit there and spam my pistol all the time. You know, that'd be pretty cool. After 50 kills without dying, I have earned the right to spam a pistol. You know, it's a low damage item that probably isn't going to get too many kills. You know, and if you survive that long, good for you. You know, little things, little incentives.
Yeah, fine detail. It's great.
That guy blew himself up.
But some asshole with the DL-18 just fucking shot me while I was defusing an objective. Like, bullshit. But no, like...
So did we go
there
over
are some
the class
good things about the game.
Just before we move on, do we go
it
over all the stuff that you knew about that I don't? About all the classes and the little details about...
Yeah, we talked a bit about the clones and things like that. Well, what they're doing too is, like, for special abilities and cards and things like that, you can actually replace them. Like, that shield ability that you see is not the only ability you can get. You can get, like, a passive ability that, you know, gives you points for getting shot, so there's more incentive to go die.
Oh, really?
Yeah. They actually, from one of the videos I was watching that was sponsored by EA, or at least I believe it was sponsored by EA, they had a class in the heavy, right, where there was a certain ability, it was a passive ability, and you got points for getting shot. So I guess it's incentives to stay alive, because the more you get shot, the more, like, XP you get.
Right, right.
At least that's how this guy was making it out to me.
You get shot and heal up,
then
and you
again,
get shot and heal up.
Yeah. And, you know, you got the personal shield, you got, you know, grenade launchers that you can equip. And cool stuff like that. Hey, we won a game.
Hey, 1 for 4.
But, you know, and things like that.
Okay.
You
and
know,
that's going to be class-based.
Yeah.
Not
I
every
believe
class
so.
has that.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
Yeah,
so we kind of went over classes. We went over heroes. On the note of classes, there are, like, super classes. If you remember, back in Battlefield 2, or Battlefront, I'm sorry, Battlefront 2, that Battlefront 1 did not have. You had to get a certain number of points before you got, like, the better units, like the, you know, the commander and, the jump trooper, or the Wookiee and the Bothan, or the IG-100 Magna Droid and the Droideka. You know, you had those upgraded, like, super troopers.
Yeah, the jet troopers are one.
Right, right. They have brought that back in that it's a point system. You know, again, after enough points, you can upgrade to a hero or an advanced class. And they said they have, like, flame troopers, Wookiees.
That's cool.
Death Troopers, B2 Super Battle Droids. Now, the Flame Trooper they showed was the First Order Flame Trooper, but I feel like that would be a pretty cool thing for, like, clones. You know, just have, like, a Flame Trooper.
Well, as we saw in
the
the first season... Yeah, well, no, as we saw in the first season of the Clone Wars, I think it was the episode Point Rain. Yep. Kiadi Mundi has a squad, or at least it has flame troopers attached that he uses to clear out and quite literally burn Geonosians to death to advance through a cave.
Yep. So, stuff like that.
And you see the Geonosians on fire, like flying and shit, and, you know,
stuff like
getting
that would
killed.
be really cool. I feel like that'll just let you add more diversity. So I was kind of interested in that. More than maps, we talked a bit about the Camino and how it's going to be like a staged assault. They also have, like, Yavin 4, Starkiller Base, Tatooine Kashyyyk, the Death Star 2, Naboo, Endor, Hoth, Jakku, and Takodana. All stuff we've seen before. The one we haven't seen before is called Fondor. Now we know that's a ship-breaking yard. That's probably something to do with with the
Haven't we
story
seen
from the single
Fondor
player.
though in Force Unleashed? No,
No.
Fondor wasn't in Force Unleashed.
I do not believe so. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it was not.
Let me look it up real quick.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's going to be something from the single player story. But yeah, I mean, we went over weapons, weapon attachments, star card abilities, because they had differentiated between abilities and star cards. Not everything's going to be star card based. Like you said, there's like that passive get shot ability, you know, stuff like that. They're going to add so much diversity to the game. That's just going to be so nice.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely looking forward to see what they fix, you know, and you know what they improve upon and things like that. Because you know, when it comes to games, you know me, I'm either oh my god this is epic as fuck or this doesn't look that great.
Right.
And this is one of the games where you know it looks good to me, but you know I have my worries because the first game, but then again it's Star Wars, so I'm holding out. Yeah, that would be the right word. That would be the right phrase, rather.
Yeah,
because,
definitely.
like, it's Star Wars, so you really want it to be good.
Yeah, I'm holding out. I believe. I just can't put everything in it. You know, I had to hold some skepticality because it's just hard to get over the bias of the first game. And like I said, I have a big problem with people that are like, hey, I'm not buying this game because the first one sucked. But I can't blame them. This game's not pleasant sometimes, you know?
Yeah.
If you're playing alone,
especially with
it
balancing
really
issues.
sucks. Yeah, balancing.
Especially with balancing issues.
Yep.
Oh no.
I rubber band a lot in this game.
Yeah. Oh, for anyone who hasn't played this game, what I'm talking about with balancing issues is sometimes you'll get put on in a game, and then all of the good high-ranking players are on one team, and all of the shitty low-ranking players are on the other team, and then after the game ends, it doesn't even make the game does not make an effort to fix the team's skill.
Yeah, it won't balance out. It'll just stay how it is.
It gets really frustrating when you get stuck in one of those games, and it's like, well, fuck, I don't want to leave the game, but at the same time, I really don't want to get murdered repeatedly just so I can wait to load in for a game, which is going to take, like... Loading for games usually takes a while in this game.
Longer for me than it does
for
for
some
you.
people. Yeah.
Even today, we loaded in for this, and I waited to start this video until after I loaded in, or not even. I was like still loading in. I was like, whatever, I'll just start it up. And, I mean, I was sitting here for a solid 5-10 minutes just loading. You know, it was bad.
Yeah, which is something else I think they really need to fix as well. Is I guess server connectivity, loading times.
And we saw that twice in this video. I had connection issues. My internet is amazing. I have top of the line internet. I don't cheap out on my internet. The fact that I'm having connectivity issues right now, that's a server end thing, not on my issue. You know what I mean? And that's a big deal because not everyone has good internet. You know, some people rely on the servers being strong and easy to connect to. You know, some of them really need that.
Yeah, I mean, I have good internet. You know, I have the. I mean, how bad can my internet be? You know, I have my Xbox plugged into an Ethernet cable into the modem.
When you hardline it, that also does help.
Yeah.
And I don't even need to. I've thought about plugging mine back in. It's right next to my oh, that's Darth Vader. I thought about plugging it in, you know, directly in, and I don't even need to. My connection's so stable without being plugged in, I don't need to.
Yeah.
But I have considered doing it because it's kind of one of those things that
you can. So why not, sort of deal.
Yeah, and I only need like a 5-foot cable or something. It's not a lot. It's not a very big distance. So other stuff I want to talk about, back onto like the team aspect. They do have squad bonuses for staying physically near your squad. You know.
Okay.
So just proximity alone will, over time, get you extra points. And that's something that I really like. Is the idea that if you stick together and you play tactically, it'll help. Another thing, bonus points on assists. So, in every other game, it's kind of like you get an assist, it's like, ah, shit, alright, I'll get an assist medal, which gives me extra points, but, like, they took my kill, so I'm not getting the points for that kill. Well, in this, they've remedied that by saying that any assist that you have, you're going to get bonus points. So,
That's cool.
Yeah, so it kind of helps.
That's cool.
In that if you're all focus fired on one person, whoever gets the kill, great, you got the kill. Whoever, you know, assisted with it and didn't get the kill, you still getting points. You're still getting extra bonus points towards like a hero or an upgraded class, which will get you the kills. So that's kind of nice. And they did announce multiple heroes in one session. So like here, you're not gonna have more than one character in this hero character in this game. It cannot happen. But they have announced that again, without a restriction on eras, you can have, like in theory, you can have, you know, Yoda and Luke and Han and Rey all in one game at one time. And
yeah,
I like that, and
that's
I dislike
cool.
that. I kind of like it because it's nice to have a lot of heroes and diversity, and it's that epic factor. What I don't like about it is it makes the game hard to keep balanced. Like in this right now, we could lose and pull it back at the last second. You know, it's very easy to pull it back. In a game where you have 4 heroes, there's not a lot you're gonna do. You know, if you're losing and you're getting your ass kicked, and they're getting heroes because they're getting kills, good for them. But you're not getting kills. You're not. You know, like, when you're going against 4 different heroes at once, you're just not getting anything. It's not happening. You know. So.
Take cover.
Yeah, I was trying to take cover, but the AT found me. It's just not gonna happen. It's not gonna be an easy thing for you. You're not gonna get kills. You're not gonna make a comeback when you're fighting 4 or 5 different heroes all at one time. You know.
Yeah.
So
I think if that's going to be the case, each side should be limited to 1 hero.
Until the other side has 1 or something.
Yeah, like, not even that, like, a 1 hero, you know, that you can use and 1 person can be like the original Battlefront. And, you know, if that's the case, then they should really bring back something like heroes versus villains. And, you know, it's everybody's a hero, everybody's a villain, you get a certain amount of respawns, and then, you know, you go at each other. Like, why not?
Right. Well, I mean, like I said, they have officially announced that they will be having multiple heroes available in a session, which I don't know. I just don't know how I feel on that. But overall, they've announced 5 game modes. So far, obviously we're going to be getting more with as the free DLC updates come in. So we've got Blast, which is actually in this. It's basically TDM, you know, team deathmatch. Oh, watch your back. We got fire coming in.
I know, I'm covering.
1 step ahead of me. I'll watch your back. So we've got Blast, which is your... Oh, behind you again. He's coming down that hallway. It's your basic team deathmatch, you know.
Oh, he had extra health. He got me.
Yeah. And then you have the Strike.
The Baxter.
They said it's a team-based objective game. They didn't go into detail on if that means capture the flag or you know, what cargo is basically. They didn't really go into too much detail. I didn't know if it was like attack and defend. It looked like kind of like a capture the flag kind of type game.
Yeah.
But they didn't go into it.
Maybe it'll be interesting.
It might. They did say they're bringing back heroes versus villains. I don't know if it's going to be like the original Battlefront 2, like you were talking about, where everyone's a hero, everyone's a villain, you have X number of lives, and you go. You know, I don't know if it's going to be like that.
Yeah.
Or if it's going to be more like this game's heroes versus villain, where it's, you know, X number of people, and half of them are heroes, half of them are villains, that kind of thing. I don't know. I always said that they should bring back what the original Battlefront 2 had. Just because it was so nice to have every single one of them. Now my thought was, how many heroes and villains do you have? Let's say you have 5 on each, you know, 5 good, 5 bad, right? Make it 10 people. So you have all 5 good and all 5 bad, and then you have some extra people. You know? If you have 10, okay, well, make it 20. You know, make it a 20-person lobby. That'd be hectic and crazy and wild and out there, but you know what? It'd be pretty fun. You're gonna remember those matches when it's just so epic and big and huge, and you've got, you know, a 20v20 match is huge. You know, 40 people, that's a lot. You know what I mean? And the original games, I mean, gosh, what was the cap? That was like a 40 on one team, wasn't it? On the original Battlefront 2 when you did the multiplayer? I don't know if you ever did multiplayer, but wasn't it like 40 on each team or something?
You could have crazy amounts with like PC and things like that, and even then there was a crazy amount of NPCs that you had on a field
in addition to the
at
players.
a time.
That's what I'm saying. It was huge. It was just big and grand and epic, and it allowed for larger maps that are more diverse, and that kind of makes the game feel nicer, you know? Because as you're, you know, playing these big maps, like this map that we're in right now, how many times are we going to play it before we know every nook, every cranny, every crevice? We're going to know what's good, what's bad, where to sit and wait like this, you know, where the enemy's going to come from and where they're going to be going.
Yeah.
With a big map like what Battlefield 4 has, it takes sometimes a couple months or even a couple years to learn all of the little spots on those maps, you know?
Yeah,
it does take some time.
You know, sit here and throw a grenade or two, and maybe I'll switch to my scout rifle.
Yeah, exactly.
Get a headshot. Yeah.
So that's one thing that I do like, the bigger maps. And don't get me wrong, there's a place for smaller maps. You know, like Rust on Modern Warfare 2. Behind us.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yes. I got him.
He immediately killed
Got
me.
him.
Yep. So I mean, stuff like that. You know, I mean, it's, I don't know. Smaller maps, like I said, like Rust or Cargo, I was talking about with a buddy of mine, they stand the test of time as some of the best head-to-head multiplayer maps because they're small, they're close quarters, it's hectic, it's crazy.
They got a lot of stuff on them.
Yeah, everyone's on top of each other.
Rust
There's cover. Yeah, there was like 5 layers to that map. You had like 3 different ladders and pipes going up and down and all this other crazy shit. You know, it really did help. It worked. And that's why I say big maps aren't always the way. They're pretty good, but you know.
No, I agree. Really depends on what your objective is. For TDM, smaller maps are better. You know, but for objective-based games, bigger maps are better. You know what I mean? It really depends on what you're going for.
Yeah, and like I said, even with a TDM, a big map can work for TDM if you've got the player count, you know?
Yeah. The problem is with Xbox, at least, you know, I mean, they can't withstand the amount, you know?
That's true. That's true. There's
you
certain
know, like a
limiting
PC,
factors
you can
on
have
how
a lot
many
more
people. You
people.
can have.
Yeah.
Right. There's a limit on how many people you can have in a lobby, just because the servers can't handle it.
Yeah. It's a console. Consoles will never have the processing power of a PC, unfortunately.
Yeah, nature of the beast.
You know.
God, look at these people wasting those orbital strikes.
And are on their way.
And now the Y-Wings come in. Ah, if that guy had held his orbital strike.
Yeah.
AT-AT down.
Hey, I destroyed the AT&T, and all I did was AT&T.
AT&T.
All I did was fire one shot.
I've destroyed AT&T.
You're going down, bitch.
Alright. I think we got serious damage. Fire. We've got like 6 turrets going on it. We've got some T-47s in the air.
Yeah, no, it's done.
Yeah, we just
we got the
crippled its health. It's done. It's done. We win. So Starfighter Assault, again, dogfighting and objective-based stuff. We kind of saw a space video there in which they had like a CR-90
that the Imperials had to destroy, or for the Rebels they had like a defensive station, like a little turret set up, kind of like Empire at War, how you could capture those turrets and put like the lasers or the missiles or the repair docks. It was kind of like that, like one of those little laser turrets, and they had to take that out, and then they had to take out like frigate defenses and stuff like that, and that was all pretty well and epic. Again, I'm kind of looking forward to that because starfighters are a big thing for me. Like, I loved playing that stuff in the original Battlefront 2, and I owned.
Same.
When I got in a starfighter, I wrecked people. I hate fighter squadron in this game. I can't stand it. It's...
Yeah.
I don't know what it is that changed. I can't stand it. I hate to play it.
Well, you want to know what it is. I mean, you can't do, like, the flips. Your maneuvers are extremely limited. You have to choose between, you know, do I want more speed or do I want more power? And the problem here is that anyone who sits on, you know, low power, like high weapon damage, right, well, is almost guaranteed to destroy you. So it almost takes out the whole aspect of faster is better. And then you just get stuck with people using by default the faster fighter, or which is high interceptor or A-wing, and then they have these. They're going pretty quick, you know. And then they got these really powerful weapons, or, you know, I mean, people will literally just go really fast, slow all the way down, shoot the hell out of you, and run away. Like, I honestly think it takes strategy out of the game. It doesn't give incentive in the game mode. It's discouraging for newer players who have less experience to play the game mode, just because you're going to get annihilated 9 out of 10 times if you're like me and didn't know how the fuck it operated for a long time, which is not made explicitly clear.
So, one thing that I said they should bring in, and again, this is a feature that was in one of the PSP games, when you're in a space fight, and I really hope that they bring back actual, like, you're attacking the capital ship and all that, you know, and you have to, like, you know, you can land, boarding infantry in. That was so cool. Boarding an enemy ship and taking out the subsystems from inside. That was just badass, you know?
Stay sharp. We got hostiles.
It was. So I kinda hope they bring that back. But another thing that I liked about it, they had this feature where you could there was like a little asteroid in the center, and you could fly there and you could dock with it, just like with the capital ships, and there was a control point in there that you could fight over. So that kind of led to like infantry combating each other and fighting on the inside of that, you know. And then after you took control of it, it unlocked your advanced fighters. So for the Empire, it would be your TIE Defender, and for the Rebels, it would be your B-Wing. You know what I mean? So you had your basic fighters, you had your interceptors and your bombers, and everyone had those as default in your ship. But those advanced ones, you got from taking that middle thing. And I thought that was kind of nice because it kind of gives you an extra objective to fight over that's not needed, but if you do, it gives you another edge over your opponent. And obviously, whoever controls the center is the only one with those advanced fighters.
Yeah. No, that's very cool.
Yeah, that's something that I thought they should bring back. Because it was just so cool. So
yeah.
Now, the last game type is, of course, arcade. That's kind of what we have here in the battle mode. It's a single player, or not necessarily single. It is an offline against AI game, and they've announced that it will have split screen, versus, and solo. Now, what's immediately lacking out of that list is cooperative. I'm a huge co-op player. I'm playing with you right now. You know, co-op is what I do. It's not fun unless you bring your friends in. And yeah, sure, going head to head with your friends to see who is better is fun. That's always cool. You know, that's why things like Rust and Cargo got, excuse me, as big as they did. Because everyone likes to know who's top dog. You know, it's like, yeah, I'm better than you. Remember when we played that game of arcade mode and I totally scrapped you? That's fun. That's great to do. But
in GTA, it's still things I hold over Shaft's head.
Right.
That I beat him in GTA.
Right. But after a while, you can only do head-to-head so much. You know, it's fun to go against waves of enemy, like GTA's Horde. Or, I'm sorry, not GTA. Wow, that... I mixed games up. Gears. Gears is the one with Horde mode. Like Gears of War's Horde, you know? When you're playing Horde, that's pretty epic stuff, you know?
Oh, yeah. Dude, we used to have so much fun playing Gears 4 Horde and Gears 3 Horde. Like, that was great.
I still have
we play. I remember we played that thing. We played Gears 4 Horde for literally 2 weeks straight.
Yeah, no, I mean, the stuff's fun, and especially when you get 4 people in there and you're playing, that's pretty epic.
Yeah.
Now imagine...
Who know what they're doing.
Right. Now imagine if you've got, you know, let's say it's this arcade offline against bots, right? Let's say it's 20v20. You and 19 of your buddies going up against the AI, that's pretty cool. You put it on the hardest difficulty AI you can. That's pretty freaking cool, you know? I mean, that's just epic. It really is. And I feel like that's something that they're missing, ultimately, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I can understand if they want to have a PvE, right? Or, you know, but I don't know, I just... For me, Battlefront, like, even growing up and even playing this, like, even Battlefield, which is a very similar game, just different setting, it's a team-based game, you know what I mean? It's a co-op game. No matter how you look at it, a core element of the game is co-op.
It's teamwork, exactly. You can't win without working as... Well, you can, but it's very hard.
Yeah. Like... I mean, we're not doing a great job of showing that right now because we're just talking and, you know, dicking around and things like that. But, you know what I mean, like...
Yeah, when you're doing, like,
point is, we're still playing
tactics,
the game together. Yeah.
Right, but
we're
when
still
you're
playing
doing
the game
proper
together.
squad tactics, you're calling stuff out, you know, you're doing the actual flanks and covers, and you're using real-life military, you know, formations and stuff, like you use a column or a wedge or whatever. Stuff like that is...
Grenade out.
Right there, calling that you're tossing a grenade. Gameplay elements, you know? And that's not as relevant here. You're doing that out of habit, because in other games there is friendly fire. There's no friendly fire here. You know what I mean? Oh, that's a lot of enemies I pulsed, and there's too many. There's like 10 guys up there, dude. I'm pretty sure it's...
We got 2 of them.
My grenades bounced back. So that's one thing that I was really disappointed to hear, is that there's no cooperative for that. That was very upsetting.
Yeah.
So that was really too bad. But you know, it's again, that's something that they could totally add later on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
With those updates, you know what I mean? They could totally, because that's not hard to add. That's pretty easy stuff.
No, not at all. It's not hard at all. Honestly, it's just a matter of changing servers. Like, we're adding something to a game mode, which is something people do or developers do all the time.
Yep. And another thing that they don't have here that I'm really hoping for, custom games. And that's kind of like the arcade with co-op. They already have the arcade where you can...
You remember Halo 3 custom games?
Oh yeah, and then Reach, when they made that. Reach got a lot of hate, but those custom games were intense.
Yeah, they were. Oh my god. Oh, Halo 3 and Reach custom games are literally the shit.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Good memories.
But you know, that's just the... Yeah, that's just the, like, magic / ability of custom games, though.
Yeah.
Makes the game a lot more memorable.
Yep. Being able to create your own map and add stuff like, you know, like these bunkers. If you could make your own game with all these bunkers and stuff, you know what I mean? And changing it however you want it to be, you know? You can add, you know, certain areas where you pick up a hero. So like, let's say that we're playing this, and when we push them back to the final bunker, they get 3 hero cards that they can use. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. That just changes the game, you know? It just, it makes it so much better.
Yeah. No, I would agree. Makes it a lot more of a challenge too to win.
Right.
Hold fire!
You know, some people really like that challenge. Other people not so much.
And, you know,
But, you
that's-
know,
what I'm saying there is, like, it doesn't hurt to add it in as an option. If half
Yeah.
your community wants to play it, then you just made half your community happy, and the other half can continue on playing the rest of the game in all of its glory.
yeah.
You know?
No, absolutely.
Nothing says everyone has to like the same stuff, because not everyone does like the same things. You know what I mean? People have different
Yeah.
tastes. You have to, back to what we were saying
Yeah.
earlier, where diversification really appeals to the entire community. You know, you're not just going and, you know, letting one or two people enjoy the
Yeah.
game. You're letting everyone enjoy it in their own unique and different way, and that's just,
Yeah.
that's better.
This
in
is
my
also, yeah, this is also an area I think that, you know, Battlefront really fell short as a game, is that it already had a pre-established community. And, you know, I think that's a lot harder when you already have it to work with, when you have a pre-established community.
Right.
Because at that
Because
point,
there's so
you
many
have to live up
standards and
to an
opinions.
expectation.
Expectations.
Like-
Oh, yeah.
Like what we're doing now, right? What I was doing earlier, and
We're
more
critiquing.
specifically in the small details of like what things look like, you know. And I'm sure a lot of people have already gone and done that, you know. But you know, I mean, you have to at some point understand like you know, people aren't perfect. They're gonna make mistakes. Like, yeah, it bugs me, but is it such a huge mistake that I'm not gonna play the game?
Nope.
No. You know, I'm still gonna play the game.
Yeah.
Because I love Star Wars. And it's my honest opinion that if you're a fan of something, regardless if you hate it, you're going to play it anyway. Just
Oh, yeah.
because it's Star Wars.
That's why I'm playing this.
It doesn't
Big-
matter.
Big
Star
picture,
Wars.
this game is not that good. I probably wouldn't recommend it to anyone. I would recommend it to Star Wars fans because it's Star Wars. You know? I need my fix.
Yeah.
You know?
But, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, in hindsight, for me, the game is okay. I wouldn't say it's bad. It becomes bad when you don't have people to play with. Once you have people
Right.
to play with, it's good.
Right, which is something I said earlier, that if you don't have your friends on here and you're alone, you're gonna have a bad time in these lobbies. You know what I mean? It's pretty unforgiving stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Especially if you play like Fighter Squadron, even if you play with your friends, I wouldn't wish that on anyone. Playing Fighter Squadron, in my opinion, alone is worse than death. Especially if you're bad at Fighter Squadron, like myself.
Yeah.
It's literally sit there, get murdered. It's
Yeah.
bad.
Yep. So I think we're getting to the point where we're gonna this is probably the last round because we're
Target their upper
getting close on the 2-hour mark. But I don't like having videos that long. So I think the last thing we want to touch on is the single player, because that's one of the biggest complaints the community had, was there's no single player to this game. You know?
Yeah.
What good's a game to me if
Yeah,
I don't
absolutely.
have an epic story? And that was an obvious design flaw on their end. They saw
Yeah.
all these people playing multiplayer, and I think another thing is people really criticized their single player campaign for like Battlefield 4 because it felt like so many other games before it wasn't an original story. So when everyone said, I don't even waste my time with that campaign, they took that as, oh, they don't want campaign? Alright, well, we just won't waste our time on campaign. And that's not the case. We wanted a good campaign, EA. We wanted something we could enjoy. We didn't want the same
Yeah.
copy and paste Call of Duty Modern Warfare game that we've been playing for years. You know? It
You
doesn't
know,
help
and
us.
that's my chief complaint why I don't play the campaign for Battlefield games, is because they're all the same. You know, it's like Final Fantasy. I refuse to buy Final Fantasy. Why do I refuse to buy Final Fantasy? It's all the same. There's no substance. You know, at some point it kind of is blatantly obvious you're trying to leech my money away from me.
Yeah. And this could have had a really good campaign. You know, they've got such
Oh,
a
absolutely.
huge area to do here with the Galactic Civil War and stuff. I mean,
Absolutely.
this is just bread and butter here. So obviously the single player is set as they said, immediately after episode 7. Like I think it said literally you pick up and like you're on Endor and like the character watches the second Death Star blow up. Like that's pretty epic.
Yeah,
and
it's during the fall of the Empire, isn't it? And
Yep,
you are
yep.
part of the. You are what, a female pilot?
You're not a pilot. You're part of what's called Inferno Squad. It's special forces. So they're cross-trained to do everything.
That's right.
Yep. So while she is
That's right.
technically a pilot, she is also not.
In what I saw, it looked like a pilot. That's why. Except she was in black armor.
Yep.
Well,
she was actually flying a TIE fighter in one of them. So she is pilot trained.
Okay.
She's just not exclusively a pilot. That would be
Okay,
weird if it was
so,
all
yeah.
about a pilot. But no, so it's like the Special Forces squad, and it's got like an underdog feel, and it's painting the Empire in like a positive light, you know, because it's obviously
the Empire,
loyalist Imperials, you know, people that are like
but you know,
loyal
even
to
the Empire, when you look at it in hindsight, while they did terrible things, they did a lot of good for the galaxy.
and
Like with the coming threat.
Well, yeah, with the Legends stuff, they did paint Palpatine as like a Karen person who like did all this because he didn't want the galaxy invaded. I always prescribed the theory he's just an asshole. You know, he's not a nice person. But aside from that, the story will help to fill in the gap between episodes 6 and 7. I doubt it's going to go all the way between the 2 episodes, but they did say that it's gonna help fill that gap in at least a little bit. Our main character's name is Iden Versio, and she's the commander of Inferno Squad. Her father is like
Now, I
he's
have
got
a
like a
question
white
for you.
uniform on. It looks like Krennic or Tarkin, or not Tarkin. I'm sorry, Krennic or Thrawn.
Now, here's my question: have they said if it's gonna be cooperative campaign, or I haven't seen much about the campaign?
They
or
have
is
not
it gonna be
mentioned
something like
anything
Ghost
co-op.
Recon?
They haven't mentioned anything.
Is it gonna be like Ghost Recon?
What, like a drop-in, drop-out kind of thing?
No, not like drop in, drop out, but you can order your squad to go to certain positions.
Okay.
And take up certain areas.
Right, kind of like Rainbow Six Siege 2 had.
Yeah, I'm gonna leave the game now since this is the last game. We're just finishing up.
Now. Yep. Now they haven't mentioned anything at all with, you know, if they're gonna be doing co-op or anything like that. Like I said, it has not been mentioned. We haven't heard much about the campaign. They've mentioned little bits here and there, but for the most part, they're just keeping quiet about it. So I'm kind of
well. I think it's safe to say. I think it's safe to say like this is gonna be, you know, you're gonna play, you know, the Remnant for. I think Thrawn is definitely gonna be a thing because they introduced him in Rebels, right?
Right.
And I think, you know, it's going to be like, it's going to be the transition. Like, you're going to be an Imperial Stormtrooper and going to paint it in a good light. And, you know, it's the transition from the Galactic Empire into the First Order.
Right.
Which, if that's the case, is going to be a fantastic storyline just because there's so much there to do.
Yeah.
You know, it adds a lot of potential. And it adds a purpose.
Yep. So, kind of also with the idea of, is it going to be like Wildlands, in that are you going to be able to command where you go? Is this a closed bordered campaign? Do you go from mission to mission and that's the kind of game it is? If so, that's fine. That's the standard layout for campaigns. But I've seen several games now where a campaign is missions and you choose where you go. You know, like eventually you have to go to these 4 places. And there have been other Star Wars games like Jedi Academy where you had 5 objectives, but you picked the order you did them in, and the order you did them in had very slight differences in how it all turned out. You know, even Coder, you know, you could go to whatever planet you wanted, and, you know, certain planet where you went first or second or third, you'd interact with certain enemies or something that that you would not have interacted with otherwise. And I thought that was a very, very nice touch.
Also, Star Wars, where I've seen this is StarCraft 2. Where, you can pick which missions you want to do and with what order, and that affects, certain decisions you make affect what happens in future DLCs.
Okay.
Or other missions. So, yeah, it's definitely a cool concept, and, there's definitely a lot we can speculate about for campaign, since all that's really been released is a trailer.
Right, we've seen, aside from the theatrical release trailer, we've seen one trailer, not even a full trailer for it, but a part of a trailer for campaign stuff. So, I mean, I'm definitely looking forward to it. I'm excited, clearly. Like I said, we're definitely gonna be playing that beta when that comes out. That's gonna, it kind of sucks because it's overlapping with the weekend for Comic-Con, and I'm actually gonna be down at New York Comic-Con.
I didn't know that. That's cool.
That kind of sucks that it's that weekend. But when I'm not down at Comic-Con, I will definitely be, on and playing that, because that's, whew, such a great game.
It's Star Wars.
So appealing. And we haven't had a big Star Wars title. That's what I'm saying. We haven't had just the fact that it's Star Wars alone. It could be the worst game ever, and I'd love it. I'd buy it 10 times over. We haven't had a good title for Star Wars in so long.
Oh my god. What was... I don't even know what the last good title was. Like, I was so infatuated with, like, the older games. I honestly think the older games were better than the new releases.
Oh gosh, the last titles that we had. I mean, Battlefront was not on that list. I think The Force Unleashed was good.
You know what?
A lot of people hated it. It took a lot of liberties with the with the story and stuff,
It's okay.
Secret Apprentice,
But you know what?
Palpatine.
It explained an important detail in the Star Wars universe, which is why I thought it was good. You had a purpose. There was obviously clear character development for Starkiller, which was fantastic. And, you could have... This is something that even applies to movies. You could have the worst campaign in the world, but if you have the right actors to portray things...
Right.
For a character, it makes the movie.
Absolutely.
But that's more of a thing of fine detail again.
Yeah. Wow. That's something where they've been lacking lately. Other than The Force Unleashed, I mean, we had Star Wars, The Clone Wars Republic Heroes, got a lot of criticism. It was a fun little game. I liked it. It had co-op, it had clones. Co-op. Did I mention the co-op in it? It was fun. It was if you're not taking it seriously, it's a fun little game to waste your time with, Obviously, Lego Star Wars. Lego is always making new stuff.
Always fun.
So
always fun.
I think that that's where we're gonna end the stream. But I mean, definitely we're gonna keep an eye out on more content. As they release more trailers, we might do more videos like this where we talk about what's going on. And clearly, like I said, when the demo comes out, I'm gonna be playing that, and you're just gonna see a lot of Battlefront 2 when it comes out. I'm gonna be recording a lot of that and putting it up here, a lot of first look content and stuff. I'm probably gonna play through the entire campaign. Again, I'm gonna definitely jump into multiplayer before the campaign, just because I want to get a heads up on everyone else on if there is like a guild or platoon system. I want to be the first to get the name that I want, and I won't say the name in case anyone else thinks of it, because I really want to get that name. So we'll catch you guys later, and just make sure you keep an eye out for more content coming up.